You're listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast, the show that helps you build wealth faster, think outside the box, and break out of the herd. Here's your host, Jim Oliver.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, Chris Prefontaine. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, buddy. Good to be back.
So, audience, Chris has been on the show a bunch. Chris, tell everybody just a little bit about your organization real quick for the people that haven't heard you on the show before, and then let's dive in.
Yeah, and you could peel back any piece of it. I'll just be broad. Smart Real Estate Coach. I've been at real estate 34 years, Jim, as you know, and we started Smart Real Estate Coach, I think around 12-ish now, 12 or 13 years. And the premise was I was frustrated after the crash trying to find stuff that would guide me. Like, it was super frustrating. And I had 17 years on my belt at that point, or 18, whatever it was. And so I said to my wife, I want to do something that A, she has everything I do. There's no secrets. And B, supports people. And so now we're in 80 markets. Fast forward, we're in 80 markets doing deals with community members, people like you and I that most had no experience. So they're not out there buying a course and hoping to survive. They're out there doing deals with us as the guide. And that's been really thriving for us. Again, 80 last count in different markets doing different types of deals.
So, Chris, I love this because we just did your show. We just recorded your show a few minutes ago, and now we're recording this show, and it's the same thing. You said 34 years experience. So you've been through a crash, you've been through some ups, you've been through some downs, you know what to look for, you know what to do. You're in 80 markets. So it's not like, hey, that market doesn't work. This market isn't as good as somebody else's market. I can't make money in the middle of Iowa in real estate. Some of the things that I hear are I can't make money in Southwest Florida. It's too many REITs and blah, 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 blah. There's always excuses. But audience, this is one of my favorite analogies. If we're going to go climb Mount Everest tomorrow, I'm going to make sure we got the best Sherpa on the planet. And when it comes to real estate coaching, that's Chris and his team, is because they're not just going to tell you how to do it. They're going to show you how to do it. And I want to dive into this, tell me about because this is what I see, Chris, and then you tell me.
Yeah.
I told Heather and our schedulers, I'm not doing any more interviews with real estate syndicators anymore. I'm not doing any, you better vet these people. If they're in real estate, I'm tired of recording and saying, we're not going to publish that.
Yeah.
And because it's, I've been doing this 5 years and this is what I learned in 5 years.
Yeah.
No, you have to have a track record. I'm not going up that mountain, Mount Everest, with somebody who's been doing this 2 weeks. You know what? I'm just not. And so talk about that.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Obviously, we talked about it in your show, but it's scary because I'm the same way. I will not, in any category of real estate, bring someone on my show that didn't, with few exceptions, that didn't predate the 08 crash. So now we're getting up there in years, right? So they got to have a lot of experience. Why? Because similar to what you said with Everest, in real estate, there's a lot of shiny objects. People can get distracted pretty quickly. Number one. Number two, they get themselves in trouble big time. Then they get flushed out of the market. The other frustration is, then we'll get into how we differentiate. There are people, just like when you and I talked on your show in your industry, that are just killing it for awesome, moral, ethical investors. They're making some big mistakes prematurely. It's going on right now in our world. In one of the three ways we buy, this one niche is getting beat up because they're doing things incorrectly. And so I can tell you right now, there'll be laws passed and all kinds of crap going on because they're screwing up. And that just makes me sick to my stomach. So what do we do? I was telling you off air, about 18 months ago now. It wasn't my brainchild. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. The team came up with it, and it's called an apprentice. And so even though we've always done deals in the field, like you come in, you don't just buy a course, we're doing deals with you, we're revenue sharing. We're with you like 2 to 10 years. This depends on your deals. This apprentice program said, okay, there's a whole bunch of people out there that aren't ready to go dive in the trenches yet and do deals. They're not experienced. They're afraid, whatever. They don't have money. Maybe they don't have enough money. So we said, let's do an entry-level 90-day group thing where they can come in and get group coaching because of the low ticket to get in. But we're going to throw into that a 3-day, it's now 3 days, boot camp at our office. If they can get here, it's free. And
Wow.
I told you, we used to have a conference room. We have it, but we used to put 10, 15. It started getting too, we'd be sitting on top of each other. Very private. I'm there. Zach's there. My son-in-law, Zach. son, Nick, like it's private, hands-on, roll up your sleeves, make phone calls, do deal structures on the whiteboard, make contracts. They leave with deals. So then we said,
Wow.
all right, this is working because people are empowered. They leave here like confident, empowered, and some leave with deals. So we literally broke through the wall and built this little mini classroom. It's not like a hotel, but it holds like 27, 30 people in a true classroom environment where we can roll up our sleeves and be with them. So we're breaking breaking the ice there with the industry because no one's doing that. And frankly, it's probably, Jim, because it's very labor intensive. Like,
Yeah.
again, think of the numbers. I just said if we max the classroom out, there's 27 or 30. Well, there's 4 of us. There hasn't been a time in my real estate career that you'd get access and hang out with me for 3 days in Zach and Nick and one of our coaches. It just doesn't happen, right? Couldn't afford it, but now you can. So
I love that concept. And when you told me about that, Chris, I was really excited because, I relate it I relate a lot of things either to kind of longevity, health, and that whole journey, or to golf, right?
yep, yep,
And teaching people how to be free. Those are my 3 passions when it comes to business stuff or what I like to do as my hobby. But in golf, I hired a mental coach, right? And not a swing coach. She doesn't teach me anything about swing coaching or swinging the club and technique. She teaches me only about the mental approach to the game.
love it.
And I read every book on this. I'm reading another one right now, even while I'm working with her. But here's where the rubber hits the road. I know what I'm supposed to do in my pre-shot routine, my post-shot routine, what I'm supposed to be thinking, what I'm supposed to, do throughout this 15-second process, but actually doing it and having somebody hold me accountable and
Yeah,
saying, did you just commit to that shot? That's the difference. That's all the difference in the world. And my handicap will go down from 5 to 0 working with this woman. So when I talk to people every day, Chris, every single day, I want to get into real estate. What do I do? How do I learn how to do that? Well, who do I trust? Do I go read this on the internet? What books do I read?
yeah,
You could read all those books you want all day long, and they're great information, but it's not the same as having somebody who's done it show you how to do it. It's like I love this thing that you're doing because you're getting a mentor. You're really getting 4 mentors and you have to take action.
yeah. It's hands on. And let me say, I'll try to remember how I said it a couple of days ago at an event based on what you just said. Read a book and look. Yeah, you can go on YouTube. You can self learn to try all that stuff. But I guarantee you, if you're listening now and you've ever looked into real estate, you've gone through that learning. And I will tell you that when I went through the crash and got beat up, creative financing was kind of my way out, right? Literally saved me, and it's why I'm where I am now. Well, it's costing you if you're not there, you just keep learning, hoping to make a deal. It's costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. The way our deals are structured, because you know how profitable they are, per deal is like 45 to 350 grand over a few years. That's super costly, opportunity cost wise, to not get after that. And this apprentice program is meant to short circuit that and get you after it. So yeah, couldn't agree more with that. And the accountability part that you brought up, we build that into our stuff too, Jim. Everything we talk about, you and I, it's so similar.
Yeah.
Well, the high level people that I work with, I call it President's Club. 5 of them work with me personally. It's as many times per day as they need me. And the accountability is a big piece of it. So if they're having a challenge, I'll build it into their nightly accountability. And they can't just text me. They got to give me a voice text. I want to hear their voice. I want to hear their energy. I want to hear that accountability. And if it's I screwed up and didn't do anything today, you got to text me that voice text. So yeah, accountability is a huge, huge piece of this. And I think this is appropriate with the new year, whether this comes out right away or not. It's still the new year and they should be thinking about this type of stuff.
Yeah, this will come out early January. I'm actually doing a series on how to get ready for 2026, 6 different episodes on
Nice.
like what you need to change in your life to make 2026 the best year you've ever had. But, and one of the things that I would tell you, audience, and this is right in line with that, is having the right coach that knows what they're doing, has the track record, and you can learn from them and they'll partner with you on deals. I mean, I don't know where you find a flaw in Chris's system, because the reason that you don't is it's authentic and it's transparent. And that's how we operate too. and that's why we get along so well, is because I would tell you, if you want to learn how to do real estate, that's how you do it. You call Chris. And how do they get a hold of you, Chris? Just the easiest way.
I'll give you the link for the free book, and then I'll give you a personal email because it's your show.
Yeah.
Go to the number three, 3paydaysbooks.com, 3paydaysbooks.com/CTW.
Okay, perfect.
Create Tailwind. And then I'll leave my personal email, and yes, myself or Ashley will get it and eventually will get to me. And that is Chris, CHRIS at smartrealestatecoach.com. Reach out. It's the new year. Let's start making a dent in what you can accomplish next year. And let me say this, Jim, because you got more years in the biz and your business than I do.
We're pretty
Let's
close.
use you and I, right? Let's use you and I for a test case here. But what I want to say is it doesn't matter what the business is. Let's happen to be infinite banking and real estate, let's say. But do three quick things as you reevaluate this year. If you're trying to accomplish anything, it's golf, Jim mentioned, one, pick that thing. If it's a niche that you're going to earn income in, or if it's golf or physical, whatever it is. Two, pick someone that's been like us in it for a long time, like enough to have some personal challenges, some personal triumphs, some business, some economic challenge. Like you need that. Why? Because you're going to hit it eventually. If you didn't hit it yet, it's called life. And then third, put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years, and not just 26, for 3 to 7 years. I guarantee you'll have an amazing experience. Like, for example, you can't hang out with Jim and go for 3 to 7 years, absolutely laser focused, and not get other stuff out of your life. It's not possible. So that's why I say 3 to 7 years. You'll have a great journey with that.
No, I love that. Chris, when I think about, I'm trying to think of the person that's sitting out there, and I love what you just said, those three things. And so let's kind of like shift gears a little bit, because I'm trying to think of the person that's just out there and they want to be in real estate. Again, I talk to somebody every single day that wants to be in real estate. And I live in a retirement HOA in Florida, right? 80% of my neighborhood are snowbirds. And I see this difference. I see the people that they have a 401k or a Wall Street based account, and they've accumulated this nest egg, and now they're going to live off it for the rest of their lives and hope that they don't run out of money. And then I see maybe a handful of people that I know in my neighborhood that own real estate, and they're not worried about it, right? Because they understand that real estate keeps up with inflation, that real estate assets go up in value as the government prints more money and instruments go down in value, and it's cash flow, and their cash flow just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so they want improvements. They're living an abundant life. So people want that, but they don't know how to break out of the herd and just start. So what's the first thing that you would do if you're that person? I mean, obviously reach out to you guys and start that process, but when they reach out to you, what's the first thing you're going to have them do?
I'm going to walk them through free stuff. That's why I just gave that book. And then I've got a couple comments on your question. This is a good one. Free stuff. Why? Because it wouldn't take much for you and I to go on social media and get bombarded. Your industry too, but real estate, get bombarded by all the get rich quick tomorrow courses.
Yeah.
And so it can be distracting. It can also be frustrating. It can also put you on a road that you feel like you failed because you didn't get rich quick tomorrow with their system or whatever they have. So first is pick a niche that you can get behind. And here's why I say that, Jim. There are a lot of predatory niches, or more predatory, not in a negative way, in real estate. For example, if I'm a flipper, not poo-pooing them, but they got to go get a property at 60 or 70 cents on the dollar, less repeat, So a seller may not want to do that. That's what I mean by predatory. You might like to hide behind a computer and flip land. Like that might be your personality. And in our world, it's a super win-win environment because we're paying market value if we get our term. So whatever it is, pick that niche first and then go look for, in my case, some free stuff that you can say, okay, I get it enough to say I want to learn, and then pull the trigger. Meaning what? Find out what they have for offerings. I don't care if it's me because I don't teach every niche. Find out the niche and then find someone in that niche that you can learn from. I would bring them through the free stuff first, make sure they're serious and committed. Once I know they're serious and committed, I'd bring them through the apprentice program. Why not? Everybody can.
I love that, because I think a lot of people out there, Chris, their answer to that question would be, well, you join my community for 10 grand and then you start to learn how to do this. And people, I don't care how much money you have, 10 grand is 10 grand.
Yep.
And they think, well, I don't want to do that. And audience, I want you to hear the distinction there is it's not pay 10 grand, then I'll show you. It's let me give you all this free stuff because I'm going to prove to you that you want to be working with us. going to bring you come to this boot camp for 3 days. I mean, you want to learn how to do this. If you're sitting there and you're just stuck, this is the answer. And this will be early 2026. This is the answer. You got to start now. And when Chris says 3 to 7 years, so people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right? I mean, Tony Robbins says that all the time. It's one of the things that I love to repeat that he says. And in 1 year, like, yeah, you're not going to be a billionaire at the end of 2026 if you're not at least worth $500 million now, right? But so what is you might, if that's your goal. I mean, I know people that are billionaires in real estate. I'm sure you do too, Chris, right?
Yep.
And so, like, I love that first step. That's how you tell the difference of somebody trying to sell you something, i.e., pay 10 grand to be in my community, and people that truly want to serve you and help other people. Because you get to a point, and let's talk about that too. You get to a point where I get so much satisfaction from seeing somebody start to do infinite banking. And I'll give you a perfect example. Glenn Yaney, who's actually joined Create Tailwind, he cashed in his $300,000 balance of his 401k. He didn't pay, like everybody told him he would, tax plus penalty, because he put it in real estate. He did cost segregation and he didn't pay any tax those first few years, right? And he maybe not now. I don't know what he's doing, but he took that 300 grand, and in 5 years or less than 5 years, he has 500 mobile home pads. Back to your example of what niche you're going to be in, right?
Yeah.
And 150 doors, multifamily. And the way that he did it is he found people in his town that owned real estate, and he asked them to mentor him. And he took that 300 grand and started his infinite banking system. These two things marry so well.
They do.
And it's just amazing. So give me maybe an example of somebody that's really satisfying like that with you in your program. That it could maybe the boot camp or maybe something in the past because the boot camp's new. Whatever you want to say.
I'm going to use, because we talked about the W-2 and the high income. I got a bunch of those, but I'll use Rick because he's not too distant from me geographically. But Rick worked for the government for 30 freaking years. 30. He tried wholesaling, he tried fix and flip. And every time he did, he'd feel like, how am I going to do that? It's another job, right? Because it's very transactional. Do a deal, get paid. Well, 2 years, he came in with us, and in 2 years, we set up a plan. Remember, now I'm not saying goal. I'm not saying would be nice goal, because too many people set those, they don't happen. I'm saying a plan like, okay, Rick, here's the exact path with accountability built in and dates built in. And we nailed it within 2 years. He left that. 180 employees reporting to him. Nice, healthy, 6-figure income, not 7, benefits the whole bit. And he was able to leave that after just 5 deals. Why? Because he said, I'm serious and I'm committed. I've seen enough. I've dabbled enough outside of this to know that I can't just be transactional and trade time for money. It doesn't work. That's the old way of doing real estate. And that's a cool story because he's now a coach. And he came to us with Zippo experience, other than maybe someone trying to do one wholesale deal with him and it flopped, right? Nothing in the creative world. That's a cool story. And the calls you get, you know this in your community. Judy, another one comes to mind. Judy was like multiple 6 figures and took a long time to say, okay, I'm going to do it, Chris. And when she did it, I get calls nightly going, I can't believe I waited this long. Yeah. Like a guy sat at my office the last boot camp. This just came to mind, Dan. And Dan said, Chris, I think it's a little over 400. And he said, I want them to let me go. Like, I want them to fire me. My life's miserable. Sat right in my conference room. So he's doing deals with us now, but he has like these little windows where they allow him to be him. It's crazy. I could go off and riff on this for a bit, but I hope that answered the original question.
No, it does. I love all those examples. And, it just reminds me that the only time I'm going to go back to a real old story from when I was 22. So I was 22, had a baby and a baby on the way, Irish twins, right? And I'm going to go rent a house in Louisville, Colorado. Okay. And they don't call it Louisville there. It's spelled the same way, but they call it Louisville, right? And I pull up to this house, Chris, and I don't see the owner. I'm supposed to meet the owner there, right? Talk about renting the house. And there's this kind of hippie looking guy. He's got a long beard, long hair, holes in his shirt, jeans on, and he's painting something on the house, right? And I said, hey, do you know where the owner is? He goes, oh yeah, I'm the owner. And I said, okay. And he shows me around the house and he's kind of like, well, whether you like it or not, I don't really care. And I said, okay, can I, again, I'm young. I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do with my life. And, and I said, can I just ask you a question? Like, you own this real estate and you rent it out? He goes, oh yeah, I own a ton of houses and apartments in Boulder County. And I was like, guy looks like he could be homeless, right? I mean, that just was his style. Okay. It was my perception at 22. I wasn't very smart. And so I said, okay, what, wow, that's really cool. Now, if I would have been smart, I would have had him mentor me. And I just wasn't that smart back then or maybe now. But so I said, what's one piece of advice that you would give me if, looking back and, being where I'm at in my life? He said, Jim, everything, like, imagine you're sitting on the side of a river and you're looking over this rushing river and you see everything you want kind of on the other side of the river. And most people just sit there because they're afraid to jump in the river because they feel like they'll drown. And he said, here's the secret. You won't let yourself drown. Just jump in the river. Right. And I never forgot that. This guy's name was Harlan. And so there's been so many times that, hey, I want to jump in the river. Now, how much easier is it to jump in the river if you see a life raft in the middle of the river too, i.e. a coach that's going to be like, hey, all you got to do is get halfway. All I need you to do is jump in. Then I'm going to take you over there. Right. And so talk about that. What's something in your life that kind of turned the direction like that? I'm sure you have conversations or people that you met like that.
I'll use my own example for a second because, again, I talked about this at a recent event. So after the crash, February of 08, remember like it was yesterday, light switch went off, right?
Mhm.
And then all the way to 12, I was in my head. I didn't do what you and I are saying to do right here. In my whole life I had, but I was a mess mentally. Saying, it must be me. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. After 17 years in the business, thinking I had it figured out. So that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know it did until just before the 4-year mark, I started reaching out to people. And I wrote about this in my book because I started reaching out to people who said, get your head out of you. You know what? One even laughed at me and said, Chris, that's nothing. Here's what I went through. Like, put it all in perspective that what you went through is normal. It's not only normal, but it's a great learning experience. And I'm like, great learning experience. So if I didn't reach out to them, I don't honestly know what I would be doing. Like I was in a 1-bedroom apartment, Jim. I don't know if you remember my story. Like
Yeah.
I went from an oceanfront home to a 1-bedroom apartment, and I would have been stuck there if I didn't reach out to your analogy there. So it came to mind when you said the life raft. There was no one. It was like 2 or 3 people all kind of reacted the same way. Like, what are you thinking about? Get after it. And then showed me some pathways to do that. So it's so critical. Like I can go back. My wife knows I do this all the time, and think of individuals over the course of the last decade who literally changed my trajectory by one phone call or one email or one text to say, hey, Jim, can you help me? One or somebody I met on a podcast like you do.
I love that, Chris. And, when I read your book, one of the things that I do and when I'm reading a book and because we're friends and we know each other, like I didn't do this with you. And I just realized that I didn't, but this is what I would encourage everybody to do is I would encourage you to go get Chris's book, read it, but this is what I would do. And I've learned to do this 20 years ago because somebody told me to do it. I did not create this. Is they said, always when you're reading, and my comprehension is not great. So I typically, if I can listen and read at the same time, I will. And I always take notes and write down questions on a pad of paper. And then I email now, but back in the day, I would snail mail the questions to the author of the book. Now, I promise you that probably nobody's ever done that with you. But if somebody did email you questions, hey, I read your book, I have these questions. I know I have because I've said this in shows before and people actually send me emails asking me questions in the book, is I always respond.
Same.
Now you have a relationship with that author.
Yeah.
Right? You're having correspondence. And to me, it's amazing the difference that it makes in your life. Those 1 or 2 phone calls that you said, those 1 or 2 emails that you send out. I got to know Bob Berg, who wrote a great book called The Go-Giver.
Yeah, same.
by just reaching out, and so, yeah, Chris, I mean, I love what you're doing. I love that you have that passion. I know you don't need to do that and you don't have to do it. It's something you're passionate about. You have your family involved. You have your, people, your team. I've always liked that about your team. Anything else to share with the audience before we wrap it up, man?
I would just, because it's year end, just say this. If you're even remotely thinking and you're in a W-2, I'm just going to focus there for a second, or just you're somewhere you want to get into real estate, just make 2026. Don't always try to stack on new things. Like Jim and I are talking about stacking. I'm big on that. But how about you twist your brain up a little bit? And how about you say, what's the one thing in quarter 1 that I can stop doing that I knew if I stopped doing it, it would make a difference, period. And take action on everything we just said. But what can you stop doing too? Because sometimes it's about taking some stuff off the plate.
I love that. That is great advice, audience. And I'm gonna wrap it up with the accountability part of it. 5 years ago, I was interested in my health, but I wasn't committed. And the way that I got committed, I pay a trainer 4 days a week, right? And I know how to work out. I don't need to have her take me through every exercise. But you know what? Today but I pay her because it's accountability.
Yeah.
And I get better results, and my biological age is going down because as I get older, because of working with people like her and my nutritionist and my hormone doctor and everything else. But I would tell you, audience, I don't ever say you have to do this, but if you want to be in real estate, or you're in real estate and you have areas to go, you have to reach out to Chris. You have to go to the boot camp. And if somebody wants to say, hey, if 5 people from the show sign up and go to the boot camp, I'll come too. So there's the challenge.
Anytime you want, you know that.
So, all right, Chris, man, I mean, I feel like every time we talk, I could talk to you for hours about stuff like this. And I want to just maybe every quarter or so, just have you on the show, just because people need to be reminded as much as they need to be educated. And we just got to remind them. And when your resolutions wear off and it's the first quarter, well, we probably should talk about this again. So thank you so much, Chris. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
All right, audience, we're going to wrap this up like we always do with the incredible words of Earl Nightingale and The Strangest Secret, because whatever you think, you will become.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Thanks for listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If you want to start increasing your wealth building ability right now, go to community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free, in-depth training designed to help you build real, lasting wealth. See you next week.